So, guess who's back?
Little girl gone, got a gun from a gangster. Run, little girl, bang. Say that again, I didn't quite hear ya. Mess with the wrong bitch in the wrong era. I've been at work and I got my badge of honor. Honey, I've changed so much since I last saw ya. Hands on my head, help every day. You ding ding, hold my earrings for my debut. Cause I pack a punch backed into a corner. Come at me, don't tell me I didn't warn ya.
With something a lot different for various reasons. I was sucked into a little-known game called identityv, and they'll be having a crossover soon with one of my favorite franchises, the series Angels of Death. So, in prep, I wanted to do some stuff about it, including showing off the characters and what I thought about the casting, starting with the one I want the most and my current main, Rachel Gardner, as Little Girl. And before you say anything, I tried not to be that type of little girl main, though whether or not it's true is yet to be seen. Now, in fact, as I'm the first one to be found by the hunter. But this is my favorite hiding spot on Moonlight, so I wasn't too worried. I say, knowing I get hit early in the second year. This is just an early showing of my Danny gameplay, which is, funnily enough, why I'm making videos. As you can tell, I'm certainly not the best little girl player, and not good enough to fulfill in ranked, at least. And I want to get some practice in. I would really like to do the Rachel skin justice when I get her, if I get it. I end up going down at 5 Cypher, sadly, due to Blink. But it gets better, I promise. I will do raid justice. Surprisingly, I was sure I was going to be sold, but the doctor decided to be very nice to me. All the randoms were, which goes to show that sometimes not all the randoms are bad. That, or sometimes you're the bad random. Anyway, toxic spider alert. Not really, but I don't know why she was hitting the chair. Or maybe she just got tinnitus and was getting ready for somebody to come sneak in. Regardless, the doctor does come to rescue me before half, and I head over to this window hoping to use my boost to get some distance since I plan to loot this area for a little bit. As you can tell, the doctor was staying around to heal, probably to try and get a pallet stun. The doctor takes a hit, so I tried to transition away, but I could tell she was still following me by my heartbeat, especially useful considering I refuse to look behind me when I kite. And she ended up blocking off the loop here, so I ended up doubling back to this W pallet area where, unfortunately, the professor was decoding. I think he was trying to give me some scales, but I thought that he was gonna let me leech, so I did. And we ended up kiting for a bit. And can I just mention, I really appreciate when survivors don't immediately chuck off little girls. Because like I said, some of us have a reputation. So, it was really nice for the professor to actually join me. Long enough for me to get over to slide, which I honestly love kiting around. It's like Windows, without having to worry about broken windows. Once I slid down, I noticed the Palace the Doctor had dropped while I was transitioning away, so I used it as a boost to get back around to the slide. Even though she managed to spit on me, which wasn't ideal since now I'm 1/4 away from being downed, and would have been. If not for the journalist coming in for a body block there. I do end up getting that last tick though a second later, and Viola comes in to cocoon me, which would have made rescuing a bit harder if not for the not-so-many-me managing to get a terror shock on mini Orpheus. Leaving her to rescue me and me to transition back to the slide. By now I was sure the cipher was primed, so I was just waiting. But Viola apparently wasn't as patient, and decided to blink on me to get me before I slid down. But that left me plenty of time to get distance once they managed to pop it. Funnily enough, I hadn't noticed I had Tide, and I couldn't actually use the slide. The more you know. Anyway, now I was just looping her really until the others got out of the gate, and I think I did pretty well. Well, I hope it's enough for the essence gods to shine upon me and give me my ray. I don't know if this counts as 5 ciphers, but hey, the skin is beautiful and I'm seriously excited. When I first heard the memory was going to get a skin, I was very intrigued. And when we finally got information after 4 years, I was blown away. I'm actually very impressed with how the skin turned out and all the little details I can see after a rewatch of the show. I'm gonna play the game again soon. And I need the essence to come now. Please, please, give it to me. Give it to me. And from my best gameplay to my worst. Because after this one match, I have to ask, how do people play Ripper? Because I'm very sure I hit less than half of my foggy blades. And that's an understatement, to say the least. Honestly, it would be easier to say how much I missed, as you just saw. All of this giving prisoner plenty of time to rotate out of shack and loop me around this area for a while. This is why I am very grateful that ZACK is the store package, since if I, for some reason, ended up pulling him, it would have been such a waste, since I don't think I could ever remain Ripper. I mean, ZACK's costume is honestly perfect. I heard a lot of people on the Chinese server were actually complaining about it a bit, which I don't really understand, since I think they did a lot of justice from what I know of the game sprites and what I remember from the animated series. Especially when it comes to a scythe, they really did well with that. I know a lot of people were worried they were just going to make that as accessory, but they ended up choosing a pretty outfit instead and giving him a pretty amazing skin to boot. But, as I said, it would be a sincere waste, especially considering it took me 3 cycles to get my first chair. Not to say that Luca didn't do really good, he did. I'm just a much worse Ripper. Thankfully, the lovely bunny Joker here canceled my chair animation and was kind enough to get hit by my foggy blade. So I was able to snuff out this rescue after a bit of a ring around the pallets. But unfortunately, Gardner was right there to pick up the slack, rescuing Ripper while I was attempting to pick up Joker. And I didn't want to leave him on chair to go after Prisoner with a full health Gardner right there swooping. Not that it mattered much in the end, since I missed my foggy once again. And Gardner managed to rescue before half, despite the fact I did get another half, getting me up to full presence. Don't be fooled by this homing missile. It only counts because Luffy was running in a straight line. And both of them are still on second chair. For a moment, I was thinking about taking him back to the chair that he was just rescued from, but I wasn't sure if Gardner had broken that chair, and if she hadn't, I was pretty sure she was still in the same area, and I didn't want her to break it as soon as I got over there. At least I knew who was rescuing, since Enchant was the only one at full health, and somehow I managed to stuff the rescue once again. And with that, we're sending Joker off, but by now I was at one cipher and pretty sure it was a tie at best. Not that that's entirely bad. A tie is at least not a loss, and I was absolutely certain that I wasn't gonna get any winning games. Turns out that was not the case, as I made a pretty good decision bringing Patricia all the way over here. I did it at first to see if anybody was decoding and hopefully cut off the cipher, but I managed to find Prisoner in the process. No need to pay attention to that trait swap. It was just teleport and I end up not using it. Unfortunately, when I went over, Gardener got the rescue off behind me. And for a moment, I thought about going to chase, but then I realized it was probably better not to leave the almost finished cipher with the decoder. I actually managed to get him down and chair him pretty quickly with a hit. No, he's not there for long, since Enchant gets the rescue while I was patrolling the cipher. And because apparently I can't decide whether I want to be in or out of the pallet here, Prisoner ends up stunning me not long after. But I decide to switch targets once again, because I hear decoding happening behind me, and I know this entire kiting area is sacked. If it wasn't for the fact Enchantress had a fair few stuns saved up, this chase would have been a lot shorter, but considering all the pallets in this area were already broken. By now, I knew one of these ciphers was primed, so I went out to stop whoever was coming to rescue. I managed to get Gardener down pretty quickly, so Prisoner would pop the cipher. And because I knew Prisoner probably wouldn't have made it to Enchantress in time, I decided to go ahead and chase the Gardener, considering she's already at half health, and I can just hope that I managed to hit a Foggy Blade. And now it's time for probably my second Foggy Blade hit. Isn't it pretty? Anyways, I tried to teleport to the gate since it wasn't far and I thought Luca was decoding over there, but surprisingly, he was actually over here, trying to be a hero. I think he had actually went over to either save Enchantress or open the other gate, but it seems like he backtracks to either heal Gardener or stun me and rescue her. This is the only reason I got a 4-man, because I knew he was dead on chair, and I decided to try and go for it, since somehow this blade hit again. I think that's a total of 3. Regardless, I end up chairing him pretty soon after, but by then, Gardener had already picked herself up. And again, I cannot state how grateful I am that Zack is the store pack, because I don't need incentive to become a better Reaper player. I actively don't want to be a better Ripper player. Like, for amazing how the Rose Cane animation is with this skin, in particular with Rachel, I don't... Like, what was that, Foggy Blade? Please! Anyway, while I was sharing Prisoner, I saw Gardener went towards gate, and somehow we both found dungeon. So now it's just a fight to make sure I stay between her and the hatch. I decide not to attack her since that will activate my attack recovery and give her free reign to run all the way through. Instead, I try to wait until her bubble pops, but at some point she managed to get a perfume, so she teleports back to the other side of the pallet before I can get a hit off, and cuts me off. And now we're back to ring around the pallets, as I was trying to wait to get another Foggy Blade so I could try to hit her through the wall, but, you know, you can see how well that goes. Gardener actually does very well here. She keeps out of my line of sight and ends up looping behind this big wall when I don't see her. And if I didn't see the scratch marks, I probably would have missed her entirely and she would have gotten the dungeon. But I do find her, I charge up an attack, and as Zack would have liked, no survivors.